roofing will fly through this. Luckily, I haven't had that happen. Even when we are working on what we call widow makers. Oh, that's not even bad. That's not that bad.
That's not a widow maker?
It's close. We've done some church steeples and things like that that are. Yeah. Asphalt fiberglass is the most. The shingles are the most most common. Then you got your cedar, which, ugh, and then
Hey, I think they look good.
they look great until you go to replace it.
It was a lot, but I don't have to do it again. I'll be dead the next time I have to do it.
15 years.
Oh, no.
How you feeling?
Yeah, exactly. Hold on a second.
Don't say
Take that
Then we've all run into slate roofs, Alexandria, Arlington, and things like that. And then the composite slate is actually becoming much more popular to replace the cedar shakes because they actually make the composite cedar look. Yes, now.
Oh, there you go.
There's been such a huge demand in the more humid areas.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got standing seam metal and copper and things like that that we'll just fly through. The metal's good because you can paint it, but you have to use Kynar paint.
Is that
Everybody-
it used to be lead
Kynar?
paint? That's not it, right?
Kynar paint is what they use on the space shuttle and all your high-end Lambos and Ferraris and all the really high-end, some of the top-of-the-line Mercedes. It's about $70 a gallon. Kynar, Kynar. Yeah.
Is that because it heats up so
Mhm.
bad?
It's the most durable paint out there. So again, some red flags. The biggest thing, I look for 4 things when I'm on the ground looking at the roof. Obviously, missing shingles, number 1. Okay.
5 layers.
Warped or curled, yeah. Warped or curled edges, because all the asphalt shingles, they're all made out of the same stuff. But there's just more of it in a 50-year shingle than a 25-year shingle. Okay, it's just thicker. Those granules erode, and as they erode, the shingle gets thinner, and at a certain point, everything starts to curl because it's so thin. A little bit of curling here and there is normal, because you're never going to get a perfect manufacturing process again for all those shingles. But if there's a predominance of curling, then okay, the shingles are near the end of their life. Because it's impossible for me to stand on the ground and look at a roof and say, oh, that's a 25-year shingle, or that's a 20-year shingle, or that's a 15-year shingle, or I can't do it. And the other thing is, how long will I get out of my roof? My crystal ball's in the house. It depends on weather conditions. It depends on how it was installed. I've seen 25-year shingles last 55 years, 60 years, and I've seen in my neighborhood, my 30-year roof is, it's 14 years old. I'm probably going to replace it in the next year or 2. Put on by a bunch of idiots. There are leaks everywhere. I can't find them, so guess what? Having my guys working on, and they've already done probably a dozen houses in my neighborhood.
Why is there so much staining on roofs? I've not seen that
No, it's ugly.
before. Is it like, but lately, for the last 10, 15 years, you start seeing black on
streaks.
roofs.
It's
Exactly.
Gray, particularly gray.
It's a moisture issue. Again, algae, mold, given the correct conditions, will grow on anything.
So you should power wash it maybe? No, that'll rip them off. And
Don't
everybody
do
will get a
anything to it.
flood. Don't do anything, just let it
Don't
sit there
do
and
anything.
So
The
much for
mi-
those signs you see.
Yeah, well, sure, I'll come in and power wash it, but guess what? Now
Then
you've
your
had
roof.
all the granules are gone.
Yeah, it says ugly stained roof signs everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, we can fix that.
Again, but that's the
In
tail.
neighborhoods,
You get the
it's-
tail light warranty.
It says ugly
You know what the tail light warranty is, right?
They won't be around.
I'll guarantee my work as long as you can see my tail lights.
stained. Pull out of the
The
driveway.
minute I turn that corner, forget it. Yeah, don't do anything. The other thing that I've heard, that I don't know if it's a factor or not, is the increase in air traffic.
That's what
With the exhaust and fuel and all kinds of stuff, acid rain, all this kind of stuff that's in the air. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but yes, it's become more predominant in the last 20 or so years, and that kind of makes sense to me. But moisture has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, that's why on one
The-
side it'll be more prominent than on the other.
That's
Right.
usually green, not black.
No, not necessarily.
Like a-
Mold and mildew come in all kinds of different colors. So
Shouldn't they be
what you
able
can
to, though, just to like take some kind of mold killer, if you just sprayed it up there as opposed to knocking off the granules? I don't know, that's a
I don't
question.
know. Maybe. Again, try it on, just like carpet stain remover, try it on an inconspicuous spot to make sure that there's no discoloration. Now, all the shingles have 10-year algae resistance warranty because they use copper granules in the top coat. Okay? The granules, so the copper, the chemical reaction with the water kills any mold or algae or anything like that. All right? But same thing, those granules will wear off. That's why they guarantee it for 10 years. All right? The only other thing that you can do, what we do a lot of times, is we put in a zinc strip, or because copper's so expensive, zinc has the same effect. Just below the peak, all the way down, we run a zinc strip all the way across. So the water that hits that lands there picks up the zinc and it feeds it down. Now, very, very effective, but ugly as sin, because you've got this 3-inch wide silver strip that runs right across the peak of your roof.
No.
Okay, that's about it. You know, now with the new roofing, you can expect, with the asphalt shingles, you can expect to have no staining for about 10 years. After that, all bets are off.
Are they treating copper with something new? Because there's a beautiful house on Church Street in Vienna that has, the screens on the windows are copper and the downspouts are all copper. And I know that turns green and
Mhm.
kinda ugly later. Is it?
No, patinas. I mean, true copper patinas. Now they actually have, I call it the fake copper. You know, the Pam Anderson copper that looks like copper all the time. It's always the
Oh,
copper
okay.
color.
Okay.
But the true copper will patina. It's a chemical reaction. It's actually what they're looking for. I guarantee you.
Yeah,
It's very, very.
yeah.
That's the reason that you do it. It's desirable. Oh yeah, gorgeous copper gutters.
Gas lights on the front. I just have real estate envy when I see that.
Holy moly, more money than they know what to do with. Copper gutters. You got to be kidding me. Same thing with the cedar shake. Oh yeah, see, discoloration not an issue. Don't worry about it. It does not affect the performance of the roof one iota. It looks like crap, but if you power wash it or brush it off or whatever, you've just turned your 30-year roof into a 20-year roof or 25-year roof or something like that. Okay. With the cedar, same thing. Animals love it. Cracking, warping, slate. The slate's never going to fail. It's got what the fasteners actually fail. Or a tree branch, somebody walks on it, a tree branch and hits it or cracks it or something like that. So it'll come
How do you
loose
fix a slate roof if you can't walk on it?
very, very carefully.
Supposed to never happen.
Yeah,
Jetpacks.
everybody needs to be tied off, and you got one. Usually, what we do is we have 1 or 2 guys on the other side, and you know, it's almost like,
Pulley them up.
yeah, exactly. It's like
Bucket
mountain climbing or a bucket truck. You can get in there and not touch it, depending on. The bucket truck is the safest and
Slate roofers are usually about
where you can ensure that there's no damage. But it all depends on accessibility at that point. You know, trying to get it in there. Okay, I think I got a couple more pictures. There's next one is just, see, this used to be a green roof, and obviously all the granules came off, and now they're warping and curling and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I thought it was 100.
And then there's your wood shakes in,
Mine are much thicker than that. It doesn't look anything like that.
you know,
They don't look anything
well, that's 8 years old. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how old it is. Now they're actually, did you use pressure treated?
you know, I wasn't involved in that decision whether or not.
Pressure treated cedar is now an option.
Yeah.
Lasts a lot longer,
I'm
but
betting that
wholly
it is.
expensive.
I'm betting
Yeah.
that's it.
Do roofers put other roofs on top of roofs?
Yes.
Good question, and the answer is yes.
Is that
Um,
right?
I do not. Somebody calls me it's called a layover or a
Yeah.
re-roof, okay?
Right.
First thing I say is I try to spend the first 5 minutes trying to talk them out of it. And then if they still want to do it, I spend another 15 minutes trying to talk them out of it. And then if they still want to do it, I'll do it.
Down to the liner.
The problem is it's ventilation. What's happening is if you drop another shingle on top of an existing one, that top shingle is not getting properly ventilated, okay? There is a 5-year manufacturer's warranty on that top shingle, period. You drop a 50-year shingle on top of, you know, an old roof, you get 5 years, okay? So we're not able to look at if there's any water damage. You can't replace any of the pipe collars. You know, all of your extrusions where all the flashing's gone is underneath the bottom layer. You can't replace any of those. You can recaulk them, but if the rubber's cracked or there's any kind of other issues, the boots, you can't replace any of that stuff. You can inspect the plywood. You can redo some flashing, but again, that flashing runs underneath the the bottom layer, you can recaulk it, but if there are holes in it or nail pops or something, you can't do it. Cheap, but cheap, you know. Most times it's we're selling the house in a year, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know,
We're not
I've
gonna get that.
yeah.
Some
And
of the
then
best
they
thing, the home
advertise it.
inspector brings it
See,
up and
that's
you're like,
I have a question for you.
Roof.
Yeah, I have a question for
Yeah.
you. You can actually put new roof in the listing, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, that drives me nuts as a buyer.
It is new,
As a buyer.
not
It's not a new
the
roof.
best.
Wow.
It's new, but it's incorrect.
Hey, but you can put,
Yeah.
now you can't put new roof, you can put new shingles?
No, you can put
I mean, you
whatever.
put.
Yeah, sadly,
Exactly.
because sometimes they'll say shows fabulous, and then you get there and you're like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear kind of thing?
yeah, one of those.
Um, So yeah, I've walked away from more re-roofing or layovers than I care to. I just don't want to deal with them because same thing. I touch it, it's my problem. Yeah,
and then
they
the
might it
county
might be
will
leaking
let you
somewhere
do
that I
it.
can't control, and now all of a sudden because I went in there 2 years ago and the pipe collar was bad then, and now they're just finding out now it's my problem.
Well, if they're gonna do it, they should at least go ahead and replace all those pipe collars right then and there, and probably the flashing, which probably would put all the price right back to where.
But now you're ripping off a certain percentage of the shingles to get to everything.
No, I'm talking before you do the
Before you do
second
the
roof,
second
change those.
But
Still have
I
to
understand
do all
absolutely,
the-
but all that stuff is done underneath the original layer. So you've got to remove this much here, this much there. You got 8 pipe collars, an attic fan, and 2 chimneys. You're already taking 40% of the roof shingles off. You might as well just rip it all off and be done with it. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
Good.